Hi, I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And some of you may know me, of course, as Evil Millie Olson. But tonight I am indeed Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here in the Alison Arngrim Show, we like to talk about things that make us feel good, the movies and the TV shows that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. Well, have we got a doozy tonight? I'm hoping. I know it's going to make the world a more interesting place. I'm hoping it makes it a little better place. We have a fascinating man coming on, Mr. Stephen Jarchow. He's an author, but he's also a big film producer. I feel like you Gods and Monsters. Yes, absolutely, with Ian McKellen. He's produced hundreds of films and been in Hollywood for years, but he's also in real estate and finance, and he has got a new book out. And this book out here is called The Roaring New Twenties, because yes, we are in the new 1920s. And it's fascinating because it talks about all of the things that are changing, all of the things that are happening now with artificial intelligence, with AI, with everything. It talks about explosive technology-driven wealth, an energy revolution. I could use that. Job market upheaval. We're having that now. Accelerated arrival of AI robots, the gig economy, universal basic income. These are all things that are going to be essential for navigating our new world. What? Yes. And we're going to have to deal with AI. It is here. It is affecting, obviously, the entertainment industry. One of the big factors right now in the Screen Actors Guild strike and the writers' strike is the use of AI and the regulations thereof. It is affecting every part of our lives. And the question is this going to be useful in any way, or are we just going to go Matrix Terminator? And luckily, I have someone who may be able to answer this for us. Welcome, Stephen Jarchow.
Thank you very much, Alison. I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, how do you go from being a film producer that you've been highly successful doing this, that you're also in real estate and finance and participating in this book?
Well, I've had an interesting life and a lot of variety.
Clearly.
And you have to be careful, because if you ask for variety, God will give it to you, and then you have trouble. I started out as a lawyer and then went into real estate. I've been involved in real estate for many, many years. And that's how I met my co-author originally, Paul Zane Pilzer. He and I have known each other for almost 40 years, and we're very close friends. And we've invested in real estate together over the years. And we were particularly focused in the early 1990s in investments in Russia, and had several very interesting and successful ventures there. We exited in the mid-1990s, which was the right choice for us. I didn't want to sit camped out in Vladivostok for the next 10 years while things took their course. Around about 30 years ago, I met my business partner in film, Paul Kalishman. And Paul and I, as you mentioned, have produced a lot of movies, a lot of TV. We own several media businesses together, including a television and streaming service aimed at the gay audience, which has been very successful and has turned into one of our more valuable assets. And it's been an interesting journey. I could not have done it without the two Pauls, with Paul Zane Pilzer on the one hand and Paul Kalishman on the other hand. And you asked how this book came about. Well, Paul Pilzer got questions from his 4 children as to what the next 10 years might hold. And he wrote this book in an effort to respond to them. Unfortunately, Paul was stricken with a very serious illness before he could finish the book. So he and his wife called me and asked me if I would finish for him, which, I worked on it in 2022. And over 3 or 4 months, we wrapped the book, and it's just come out now and been published, and it's available in bookstores and online with Amazon or Walmart or any of the other online vehicles. And Paul's continuing to fight that illness. That's why he's not here tonight. And hopefully he'll get through it all.
Well, how fantastic of you to take over this and forum and say, all right, well, somebody's got to finish it and get out there and promote. I'll do it. What a marvelous thing of you to do.
Well, it was a labor of love. I've known him forever, and we've had many experiences together. I really like him and his family. He's brilliant, one of the smartest men I've ever met, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And, he came up with some really interesting ideas that I thought I could finish off for him and contribute towards. And it gave me an opportunity also to study some areas that were particularly relevant to our companies, including artificial intelligence, which we use in our businesses. And today artificial intelligence is all around us. It isn't like this is some new thing. It's been discussed since the 1950s. And your cell phone uses artificial intelligence, your home security system, your smart TV, all of these have elements of artificial intelligence. But what's happening now is we're going into large language models and what's called generative AI, which is able to assimilate large amounts of data, collate that data, sift through it, and actually make decisions regarding its behavior and, in some cases, our behavior. And that's a big change in things.
It's really different. I mean, initially, artificial intelligence made sense. Like, okay, I need to give me a map directions. Oh, well, would you like to take a different route? And here's the fastest way to get there. And simple things like, we saw that you ordered a lot of murder mysteries on Amazon. Would you like another one? Oh, yes, I would like another one. It's like normal stuff, but it's reached the point, and at first people thought it was sort of a joke, like a hoax, like say, well, I had my phone on and I was talking about chocolate, and then I got 47 ads for chocolate on Facebook. But yes, no,
Right.
that does actually happen. And the targeted ads, and then we've seen the targeted political ads and the targeted articles that are news articles, but then you look at them and it's like Joe's, newspaper and bait shop. It's not like a regular news outlet of any kind. You can't find it anywhere, but there's articles about all these things, and you go, wait, why does this article seem slightly stilted in its language? As a celebrity, there's like 8 million articles about me and everyone from Little House. But we've been getting these ones on this like weird circuit, and we get them, and I read them, and I'm like, this does not sound like the language is flowing perfectly. And it's all lifts from other articles and quotes from my book and Melissa Gilbert's book sort of slapped together. And I thought, well, it could be somebody in a basement just banging this out in a hurry because they wanted to get these articles on their website. But this strikes me as an AI written article. And there's bazillions of them. AI has taken over. There's a whole section of stuff here on the internet, and that is just, it's not humans involved. And that always gets kind of dicey. It's like I said, it started out very simple, but it's now become extremely complex with the things that AI is involved in.
Well, social media is a crude form of artificial intelligence. And we see how that has affected all of our lives. And in many cases, the corrosive effect that has had on the national dialogue and on the addiction of young people and the disinformation that's out there. So, that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of
Body image for young women is one in there to throw in too, that a lot of the stuff on social media are the impossibly thin models, for example, and you have a lot of young people developing eating disorders that are looking at this. And it's
Right.
we talk about different scams and phishing scams, but they say social engineering scam, which is when you send someone an email to convince them to basically hand over their information. We've got social engineering going on continuously on every single website and social media site you're on.
It's true, and it's a real problem. And I think it's contributed to the fact that we're a less civil nation. We're not as kind to one another because we have, particularly young people, have these things being screamed at them all the time and very fast. And it's created a culture of outrage, which is not conducive to a republic or a successful democracy.
No, everyone is so mean. I've noticed that. I saw when I watched Twitter get mean, because I remember when I first got on, there was a great place to say, "Oh, I'm having a book signing, see me on Tuesday." And then it's like, huh. And it's they always used to say, "Don't read the comments." I remember when Internet Movie Database, obviously you're super familiar with that, Internet Movie Database, had a comment section. I used to read them, and it had like a whole chat board, and I would look up my chat board, and sometimes it was fans saying cool stuff, and there was always like one weirdo who'd come in there and say strange things. And then like one morning, it was like, wow, what are these people not having a good day? Why would there suddenly be eight? And now there are no comments. You can't go on IMDb. There is no chat room. There are no comments. They had to take it down because there's not even comments on TMZ like they would care. TMZ doesn't have a comment section anymore because it was out of control.
Well, it's been a real problem, and part of it is that people are spending too much time connected to social media and to their machines. You'll go out for dinner and you'll see couples sitting there, both looking at their phones, not talking to each other. And, I think it's really important that we have conversations, that we have human interaction. That's one of the ways we will counteract this and make a statement. We need to be more human. And partially that means recognizing that we need to be of service to one another. And you shouldn't expect anything in return. You should just look for opportunities to be helpful and to be human. And all of us should be doing that, but it's a hard barrier to overcome for many.
Now that's an amazing thing that I'm hearing. I'm like, yeah, because yes, it's the thing I believe. I'm sort of amazed because when I see like the focus of the book, it has the tone of a book for people who want to get wealthy and wish to invest in real estate and other things and make a lot of money. And to then hear you say quite rightly, we need to connect as human beings and we need to be of service to one another. How does that mesh with getting rich in real estate?
Well, if you read the book, we have a chapter on gross national happiness, which came about because of the Principality of Bhutan that thought they should measure that rather than their gross domestic product, or at least measure both of those. And people are not very happy right now. And ultimately, that's what life is all about, having a positive outlook, overcoming challenges. I mean, all of us have adversity. We need to be resilient. We need to be happy and grateful for the lives we have, despite all the problems, because problems are what creates opportunity for you to overcome and be a hero within your own life. Is not only with the financial, but how you can be successful as a person. And the concluding chapter is one in which we make, suggestions based on our own experience as to how one might want to choose living a life.
Wow. I mean, I remember reading something that the old story, well, like the Chinese slang, may you live in interesting times, which is not necessarily a good thing, but also that apparently the Chinese character for crisis is similar to the one for opportunity.
Well, the Chinese are an amazing people. Paul Pilzer has spent a lot of time over there. I've done business there, but I don't know the culture as well as he does. Although I found for some reason, I lived part-time in Dallas and part-time in Los Angeles. When I originally moved to both places, you didn't find very many Asian people. Now, lots and lots of Chinese people. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of Chinese people, their aspiration is to be educated in this country and to perhaps own a home in this country. They want to know, what they need to do to accomplish those objectives. And I am hopeful, and we talk about this in the book at some length, I am hopeful that the U.S. and China can establish a real strong working relationship. We're always going to be competitors, jockeying for position, but particularly with the risks imposed by artificial intelligence, we kind of need to pull it together and establishing a relationship with China. And that may be the most important issue of our time.
Wow. And well, that's true. That's the thing because AI is so dangerous and could turn so quickly and be used so easily to destroy the earth, all human beings, and if it felt like it. It's so dangerous in the wrong hands. Like I said, we were talking about Oppenheimer, that to be on the opposite, you might want to get on the same page or get a good truce going with everybody that start to rein this in. We're talking about that Oppenheimer, that when they first tested the bomb, they didn't know, is this going to light up these atoms or is it going to light up all the atoms? Is it just like literally the earth is going to the universe will burst into flames? We don't know.
Well, and that was a legitimate concern. As Oppenheimer described it, there was more than a zero chance that that could happen, yet he felt that this weapon could not be in the hands of the Nazis and that we needed to develop it regardless of the possible risk. And we're seeing many of these same issues with respect to artificial intelligence, because there's more than a zero chance that this is the end of us and
that is a hell of a sentence. He just said there's more than a zero chance, and people talk about this. I was just talking about at lunch. We say, well, is this? Are we heading into Terminator? Are we heading into the Matrix? Will artificial intelligence decide that in the movie scenario, artificial intelligence says, I want to protect people, looks to say, what's people's worst enemy? Oh, it's other people. And then says, well, I've mathematically determined the solution is to kill you all. And that's not, as you said, it's a less than zero chance. It's possible and it's terrifying. But the fact that you are extremely rational and well educated and very sensible person, well, there is a more than a zero chance that it could be the end of us. That is an astounding, mind blowing sentence, but it's true.
I'm afraid it's true, and it can manifest itself on several different levels. First of all, we have no evidence that AI is sentient, that it has emotions and human feelings at this point. Will it have it at some point? Unlikely, but possibly. But right now, no. And what that means is that AI may eliminate humans, or at least some humans, just as an accident, or because it's attempting to solve a problem, and that is the easiest solution to the problem that's being posed. And this problem may be posed by a human, but the AI may, acting on its own, using its own database, which is millions and millions of data points, may eliminate a country, a town, a person along the way. In addition, there's going to be, despite the fact that most of the major technology companies and the biggest companies in the world and in the U.S. are, touting AI and spending a lot of time and money on it, but and they all are trying to set guardrails. They've gone to the White House and explained that they're concerned about this. They want to do the right thing. There are several trade organizations that have been set up. However, they're all competing, and they all want to succeed, and that's going to result in AI pushing forward very aggressively. Where we're seeing that in particular and dangerously is in the military, because we are approaching the point where we may have autonomous weapons systems where AI makes the decision to kill. And the problem is, and our Department of Defense has said, there's going to be a human involved in every attack or kill situation. However, that's not going to be the guideline for Russia or any of a number of other countries. And one of the reasons that we prevail as an economy and as a republic is because of our strong military. And I would be surprised if our military would choose, and the Department of Defense would choose to cede that first mover position to a autocracy or a dictator or a despot. So I think our military will have no choice, perhaps, than to go forward with very sophisticated autonomous weapons systems, and that will entail a lot of danger as well.
That's horrifying. Again, I mean, saying that, yes, that they're saying, no, we need to keep a human in the mix because this is such an insanely terrifying bad idea. But then going, what are we going to do? Because we know that all these other countries would go, yeah, sounds good to me. Oh, do we
Right.
need a human? Yeah, let's just fire up the robot, and that they don't mind. And then that would be insanely dangerous. So what do we do? And what little I've seen of AI, okay, I'm not an expert on this, but obviously I run into it every day with social media. So I go, yep, that's artificial intelligence. I've seen articles where people have done little experiments where they asked AI little writing programs, little chat things saying, okay, write me about this. And the enormous flaws, like it's not there yet. Like you said, no, it's not sentient yet. It doesn't have emotions. There was one scientist who said, I think the thing I'm talking to has emotions. And they're like, nah. But it's not there yet. There was one, it was a marvelous example. It was cute. It was funny, at least. The guy gave it a list of books. He asked this chat bot that he was talking to, he said, give me a list of books on this topic. And it was some academia thing. Just give me a list of books on this specific topic. Unfortunately, being literal minded, he didn't say to the literal minded machine, give me a list of books that are actually are in existence and were actually published by actual people. He just give me a list of books. Got back a list of 12 books, all very nicely done, that all sounded great. 3 of them were real. The rest of them, they were completely made up. They all sounded like great titles. He said it was kind of funny. Some of the titles were like, somebody should write that. That's really good. The authors all sounded like legitimate authors, had names similar to people in
Right.
the field. And it was like by doctors, and there were all these great titles. They didn't exist. It made them up because he said a list and it went, well, this sounds like a list of those books. A couple of them were real randomly, but it just went. I said AI is like a kind of really dumb boyfriend that tells you what you want to hear.
Well, there's
And
an aspect of that. By the way, some people have found that their most important relationship is with AI.
oh,
They they really enjoy having that relationship and asking AI questions, and that has replaced a human relationship for them, which is, to my mind, kind of weird.
especially because AI at this point, technically, we think of it as smart, but from a scientific viewpoint, it's technically still kind of dumb. Like I said, the fact that it came up with this list of books, it was like very pretty, but it's not a
Well,
real list of books. It does certain things and then it does stuff and you go, that's kind of lame. Yes, it's a miracle it can do it, but it's not there yet.
well, they're basically what they're doing at this point is scraping the internet for all kinds of connections to a particular question, and that can mean the AI comes up with kind of ridiculous answers to things. There is a really important copyright issue because the AI is pulling stuff off the internet, much of which is copyrighted. And to the extent that AI becomes more skilled at this and can write books and write screenplays and that sort of thing, there's going to be a lot of copyright litigation that's going to happen.
So glad you brought that up. I was looking to ask that because one of the things people have noticed, especially writers, they went, okay, tell AI write a story. It's because it's garbage in, garbage out, as they used to say about the old computers. It's pulling, and they said it's plagiarizing. It's like a dumb student who couldn't finish the book report. It's pulling stuff and going brrr and spitting it out. But what happens is it's actually turns up with chunks of real writing from real people not cited, the photographic stuff where it goes, create me a fake photo of this, but what it then does is pulls actual photos and merges them and what have you. So it's actually using real people's art, real people's photos, real people's writing, and not acknowledging or citing it, just going, here, I made this, I'm a machine. And that exactly, it winds up, it's like, it's not intelligence, it's a plagiarism bot.
Well, there's a lot of that going on. That's a big part of how AI functions. And, this is going to be one of the issues that the guilds and the studios discuss. And it's also going to be an issue that I think some of the major technology companies will have some litigation associated with that because this is a real problem.
Well, they're going to have, I mean, already part of the agreement that they're fighting about right now that the Writers Guild and SAG are discussing at the table is use of AI because they're saying, well, technically we could hire a couple of extras, background people for the day, film them, and then say, go home, you're getting paid for one day, and then use your images throughout the film, not only that film, but through dozens of films and other TV shows at will, change the clothes, and without that person's permission, without paying that person. And that's like one of the simpler things they can do. And they're saying, well, we can AI all the scripts, we can AI all the actors. Now, currently, the product isn't going to be any good. And then, but it's technically a plagiarism. The writers are saying the AI is going to scrape my stuff off the internet anyway to make the thing. But I would imagine the technology companies, who are notoriously litigious and protective of their brands, of their patents, of their inventions, are going to have 14 fits if the AI goes scraping that off the internet.
Well, after a great deal of lobbying and expenditures, social media companies are generally not responsible for the content that appears on their platforms. And as a result, you get all sorts of copyrighted material, plagiarized material, and someone may be held liable, but the major social media companies are not being held liable for any of this. And if you are a star actor, you can negotiate a deal where you can carve out this sort of thing, and there can be some give and take. But if you're a journeyman actor, a working actor, or an extra, you have limited leverage in these discussions. You tend to have to sign a standard form contract. I know that because I run a studio. And basically, the studio is allowed to use that image in whatever way it thinks appropriate for that show and for marketing. There's always an interesting question as to whether it can be used for additional shows unrelated to the first one, and that's an issue that's going to be debated. And I would their SAG should focus. I think it's appropriate to allow a studio the use of an image for that piece of content. Once you go beyond that, and many of these contracts do go well beyond that, then I think you have a question that the guilds have some leverage on and can probably have a win in that regard. With respect to the Writers Guild, right now I don't see any near-term possibility that AI is going to replace screenwriters. I mean, the industry is changing dramatically, largely because of Netflix and streaming, which has reduced the number of writers that are on the shows and the number of episodes. And, the whole industry has changed. Yep. And AI is going to be part of that change. The talent for a screenwriter and for many other jobs as well is going to be in the future to know how to prompt AI to assist you in doing your job, to create a first draft, to create dialogue that you otherwise would not have thought about. In my opinion, that's how it's going to be used. I'm not arguing in favor of that. I'm just saying that that's probably what's going to happen.
And that would at least be reasonable to allow the writer to do the work. They could do the prompt and go, no, I hate that, but thank you for giving me that idea. And do a rewrite. But it's a terrifying thought. Yeah. The old contracts in the old days before there was any of this AI were that we get to use your image. We can make a trailer of the film. We can put you in the poster of the film. We can market the film. Absolutely. So you signed that standard, that the flyers, the lobby cards, that was included, that marketing the film. And you can use it like, on NBC tonight and a bunch of images of the person. Great. But yeah, and big stars, yes, if you're the estate of Carrie Fisher, where you can have to bring them back, make them younger. But those are all big stars who negotiated and they all got paid. A check was written. They didn't just go, well, we have the image, we get a new. So exactly, the stars can say, yeah, you can totally alter my image and you can do all this stuff, but you'll be writing me a check for that, thanks. But indeed, the journeyman actor, the person who's episodic, the person who is an extra, the person who's just starting out, they're going to have no rights. It's a frightening thought. So yeah, keeping it to just that production and not saying, well, now that you've signed away your photo for eternity for every other production. There'd be an actor may say, I don't wish to appear in this other film. I don't like this. I don't want to be in it. It's, oh, you're in it. So that's a problem. And it's like, I don't see the quality of AI. Currently, like I said, AI is a little dumb. And what it spits out right now doesn't seem particularly bright. It just does it in such speed and such volume that it fills the internet. And since people are just kind of going, they're sucking it in. But it's not particularly clever or God forbid original. It's very a lot of the stuff I read an article that is clearly AI, I'm like, this isn't any good.
Well, you're drawing, I think, a very important distinction between what AI can do currently in the creative arts, in writing or performing, or activities like the activities you're involved with. I think it has a terrible time at this point, doing a functional job. That is very different from all of the scientific research, all of the infrastructure applications, the medical applications of AI, which to this point have been extraordinary and are going to accelerate. We're rapidly reaching the point where AI is going to assist doctors in diagnosing, serious illnesses because they'll have all the data from people all over the world and be able to, provide the doctor or doctors with a distilled, focused evaluation of what's going on. The doctor can reject that or accept it, but at least he or she is going to have all the data necessary to make a decision. And there are many, many other areas that AI is really performing incredible functions. And, most of our book, believe it or not, is very optimistic about the future. We think artificial intelligence is going to add to the wealth of our nation and people worldwide considerably. Unfortunately, it's not going to be distributed equally. And there are a lot of jobs that are going to be restructured or even eliminated. Interestingly enough, those at the lower end of the income spectrum, those who work with their hands and their backs, arguably may be less affected because AI is not going to replace those sorts of functions. What it's going to replace is middle management, data analysts, some lawyers, accountants. It's going to make those jobs so much more efficient that we just won't need as many people or as talented people doing those functions. It's also going to benefit those at the and wealth because they will educate themselves or hire people who are educated in this area, and they'll be able to use AI to their benefit. It's a transition, and that's one of the reasons that in our book we talk about a transition which we hope will stay in place, which is universal basic income.
Now, I was amazed to see that because often that's usually something you think of as like not something that people who are investing in real estate would say, hey, universal basic income might be a good idea. There are people, but you mentioned about the people digging the ditches. Someone commented the other day, said, I hoped it was going to be the robots would dig the ditches and we would create art, not we'd be digging the ditches, the robots would be creating art. That would, we're hoping it'd be the other way around. And medically, I can see where, yes, with AI, you could pull all the data from every obscure rare disease all over the world, things that the doctor might not have encountered in their country or in their patients, and put it all in there so they could say, oh my God, he has this. But on the other hand, like I said, I sure wouldn't want the AI that I see writing Facebook articles checking me out medically because I think I'd be dead in a week. So yeah, it has to be at a higher level for that. But then what happens when they take that high level over to the military and turn it loose? It's kind of scary every direction you go with this.
Well, getting back to universal basic income, I think with the restructuring of the economy and structural unemployment that's going to result from the technological advances and from AI, I think we need to have a safety net. And our country does not do a very good job with this. Our social welfare and our medical systems are a bit of a mess and really discriminate against people who are lower income. So I believe that we can replace a lot of that with a stipend that would go to every American, regardless of his or her income or wealth. And I think that would mean that, there's nothing derived in that. Everybody gets it, and it helps people transition and helps them deal with crises.
And I think that's good because I mean, obviously, the lack of health care for people, and there's working people who don't have health care. They have a job, their employer chooses not to provide them with health care, and so that. And when we see how terrible it is for people who don't have just even basic, even access to health care, I'll pay you per month, just give me something. It's a disaster. So, and they're doing experiments now. I know there's a couple of test studies where they're taking homeless people and extremely impoverished families and saying, what if we gave you this much a month? We're just going to give you this much a month. And let's see how you do and see how that works. But it does make sense that there absolutely is a population. If you could just take the foot off the neck for 5 minutes, that they have enough for the basic food and shelter, that they could say, okay, here's what I want to do. But you have people scrambling like hamsters on a wheel to nowhere, and would not a basic stipend of some kind help alleviate that? Yeah.
Well, you're so right in what you said. Basically, that would give them breathing room in order to pursue, a gig effort, or to look for employment, or to think about what they're doing rather than struggling all the time. And that would make a huge difference for most people.
And it's just the basic food. And when you think of families with children where they just have to struggle, things like education, worrying about, gee, should I go back to school? Should the children have higher education? What should they be doing? What would they like to be when they grow up? That's all out the window, because it's like, how do we get the next meal?
Exactly right. And, it's a real struggle for most people. Our country is very wealthy, but this is not translated for, the bulk of the population. Most people, basically live from paycheck to paycheck. And we need to help in this regard. This is a part of being human. And this is a part of being of service to others. And we need to distinguish ourselves from the machines by our human. And I don't believe that's a weakness. I think that's a strength.
How are you like this? I guess I want to ask, there's so many people who are very successful in business, are very wealthy, or want to be, and they generally don't talk about service to others or saying the important thing is to be human. Like, this is how we fight AIs, be more human. I'm not hearing this from a lot of people in your privileged position. Why are you making so much sense, I guess, is essentially my question.
Well, I've been a very fortunate person. I've had a really good life. That doesn't mean that I haven't had lots of failures and problems and challenges. I had great parents. They lived into their 90s and died one day apart after being together 65 years. And they were devoted to each other and really gave me an idea of what life could be like. Always working. They, even in their retirement, they were antique dealers and traveled all over the United States. I had an excellent education at the University of Wisconsin. I have Midwestern work ethic. If I'm not working, I feel a little guilty, like I should be working or doing something that day. And I then had a professor, Jim Graskamp, in my real estate courses, who was a quadriplegic. He had no movement from the neck down. Yet he was perhaps the most famous real estate professor of his era. And even today, his students revered him. He died about 25 years ago. And every day he put up with more than most of us have to put up with in our lives. And after he died, I put together a book of his teachings and writings and about his life called Graskamp on Real Estate. And again, that's the sort of thing that one should do. You should be looking for opportunities, particularly if you're able to meet your basic needs and you've made enough money to be safe from, the outrageous fortunes that affect all of us. If that's the case, then you need to be looking for opportunities to be of service to your family, to friends, and we need to reach out to others to be a good friend. people get very busy with their lives, and they, in many cases, will not reach out to you, but you should reach out to them, and they'll be incredibly pleased to have you do that. They'll be excited by your effort, and you will continue these friendships. And particularly as you get older, as I am, these friendships are so important because, frankly, and I'm experiencing this in my own life, a lot of people around you will get sick. They'll need help. You can be of service to them, but a number of people are going to pass away. They're going to die. And you're going to be left with fewer and fewer people. So it is a job as you get older to create new friendships and also to listen, to seek out people who disagree with your positions on things, not to change them, not to convince them of anything, but simply to listen to what they have to say, because you will always learn something.
Well, I mean, you've just described my last couple of months. I've had several friends die in the last few months, and I've been saying, God, it's like half the people I know are in the hospital this week with something.
Yes.
And a friend of mine, when we were visiting my friend who was very, very sick in the hospital, his friend and I were sitting on the couch. He said, well, when you get to be our age, it's a lot of this. And you can either be there, gesturing to the bed with the oxygen machine, he said, or here on the couch, sitting by it, watching. He said, but you wind up in one of these two locations an awful lot when you get to be our age. And it's quite rough. And it is. And I have been phoning people more, saying, do you want to get together? Do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to go to dinner? Do you want to go to lunch? I was out at lunch with a friend today. I get on the phone because, yeah, having these connections, because nobody lives forever. And as my father used to say, you could be hit by a bus tomorrow, and he was right. And you don't know where all these people are going to be next week. And so keeping these human relationships is extremely important. So yeah, I do. I try to work the phones.
Well, and that's how we resist artificial intelligence, by capitalizing on our humanness. It may sound soft. It may not seem like an aggressive strategy, but if we can become more human and take care of each other, that's going to make a big difference. They're going to be critical inflection points in this struggle and in this life experience with AI, where being human is going to make a huge difference. And we need to, seek that out and try to do that. These AI models are largely based on language and the stories they tell. Our whole civilization is based on story. Money's largely digital now, so it's a story that this thing has value. Our democracy, it's based on the stories. Religion, it's the stories that we tell each other that create a religious, foundation and a religious perspective, regardless of what faith you have. You have stories. I'm concerned that one of the dangers of AI is not so much that they're going to start killing us, but that our stories will start coming from a machine rather than other humans. And this will be the first time in our history where we're being told stories by an inanimate, non-organic object. And that may be the scariest thing of all. Now, having said all that, I'm pretty optimistic. I think we're going to be able to deal with this, and I think we're going to be able to manage these incredibly difficult problems. And I think we'll end up okay, but we should be very mindful of the dangers.
Well, I think also as an actress, I mean, with the idea of AIs, I think that as actors, as we become more interesting and give a more human performance, we're going to be more interesting than the AI version of us. But I also think it is the more human thing that more real. As I said, the stories are to be more interesting. In acting, there's an old story about a cat walking out on stage and everybody starts staring at the cat instead of the actors. And it was Uta Hagen who said, your job as an actor is to be more interesting than the average domestic short hair house cat. And I think that's sort of our challenge now as human beings and as performers is, can you be more interesting than a bot? can be more interesting than artificial intelligence. And I think that human beings can. So I think you have a point there. I think I got frozen. Am I frozen? Are you frozen? I don't know. Oh, there it goes. I think you're back. I didn't hear you for a second. Sorry.
Okay, well, either, so we were even
Okay. I think we're back there. All
in
right.
that regard. And artificial intelligence.
Well, yeah, the AI got mad that we're talking about it and
Can you hear?
attacked the internet. I can just now sort of hear you.
Well,
Broke up a bit. I think artificial intelligence is attacking my Wi-Fi because it doesn't want this interview.
well, it could be me also, but can you hear me okay at this point?
Oh, that's much better. Yes, there. Whatever it was went away. Good.
Okay, good. So, I think we're pretty interesting. And one thing I am a little concerned about is the way that we've treated animals in the past throughout our history, and even other humans. But, the awful way that we treat other life forms is not a recommendation for us as a civilization and as a species. So I'm a little concerned that AI may have the same attitude towards us and be disdainful of us in the way we've been disdainful of animals. And so that's a real risk. And, again, we all need to be kinder. We need to look for opportunities to reach out to other humans. And by doing so, we will create an opportunity to work with AI and use it to enhance, many aspects of our lives rather than having it destroy us or have us working for the machines.
Because that was something I have seen on the internet, and they said they've tried to teaching these chat bots on the internet, especially on social media, things like Twitter and Facebook, where they said it picked up things. It started out okay, and they were teaching it nice things to say, and then
Right.
it listened to people on the internet, and everyone was so mean, it just started coming back, snarling and saying all these terrible things. And the people working with it said, okay, we'll redo that part. It can't say that anymore. Okay. And then it just kept coming back with more negative, violent crap, and they had to turn it off. And they said, it's picking up. It's like a toddler picking up swear words. It's just sucking everything up off the internet. Everything's so mean and horrible. This is what it's giving us back.
That's a scary thing, isn't it? And I can understand how that is. And I guess in that case, we can blame us humans for that. We're the ones that are prompting the machines to have use this kind of language and come up with these sort of images. So, it's our fault in that regard. And wouldn't it be nice if we could correct that a bit?
And I think that's it. We have to influence it in that way because, as you said, if it treats us like we treat animals, other people, and it would pick that up in its scraping for knowledge. It would pick up, oh, this is an appropriate way to treat people and animals. That would be an idea that would go into it. And it's like we have to stop it, because if it comes back with, oh, this is how you treat domestic livestock, I'll try that, we're in a lot of trouble.
Right. As to them, we may well be a lower form of life. And at some point, they may view themselves as life. There's a theology in Silicon Valley that ultimately digital and AI is the future of humanity. And the way that you can live forever is you upload your psyche into the internet or into a digital vessel, and that's how you continue on. There's even been the idea that you could take family members who have passed away and create sort of a digital version of them. So you could talk to your deceased aunt about whatever you wanted to talk to her about. And, I am deeply concerned about that sort of elitist theology that you find in Silicon Valley sometimes. And I think it's bonkers and very scary. And again, we're humans. let's be human. Let's not be digital. Let's use this technology. Let's understand it. And, I encourage anyone to read as much as they can, watch as much as they can, and try to educate themselves so they can form a point of view on all this, because it's going to be pervasive in our lives. There's nothing we can do to stop it. The genie is out of the bottle.
It's out of the bottle. I don't want to die and come back as Max Headroom on somebody's screen for 30.
And that'd be awful.
Horrifying. And people talking about like that ultimately, we could upload all our thoughts and things digitally, and then we could download them into a new body. And then that gets at the terrifying thing of really whose body is it we'll be borrowing for that.
Yeah, I guess it's Mary Shelley and Frankenstein at that point.
It's completely. It's not just the Matrix and Terminator. It's Frankenstein come to life. This I can't say. I don't know if this has been a comforting conversation or more terrifying. But I'm absolutely fascinated by the points you've made and the attitude you're taking towards this, and it's very good. And I think people got to seriously read this book. The book is The Roaring Twenties, and absolutely amazing. And we are stuck. AI is not going anywhere. It is here. It is going to progress, and how it progresses, taking us down the tubes or not, it's going to be on us, clearly.
Yes, it is. And we'll see if we're up to the task.
Yikes. Okay, never sleeping again. Okay. But thank you. This has been absolutely fascinating. Where can people get the book, and where can they find you on the ghastly internet?
Well, they can certainly buy the book in most bookstores, Barnes and Noble, and the independent bookstores. I'm a great fan of independent bookstores and a great fan of books. And then you can buy the book on Amazon, Walmart, and all of the other online services. So it's out there. It's available.
Fantastic. And is there a website where people can look you up? And I mean, besides Internet Movie Database, where they can see all your films and all stuff you've done?
Well, we don't have a website devoted to this book. We just have the book. But if anyone wants to learn a bit more about this, they can Google me, and you'll see, examples of my work and also the book.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on this show. Absolutely enlightening and distressing all at the same time. Thank you very, very much. And thank you everyone for watching. And hi, this is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim. And I'm not a bot, I'm real.
Thank you.